I'm excited to be here this week and share the things that I learned from the two articles I studied. I studied an article about the age gap in marriage, as well as an article on the implications of divorce, and they actually really intertwine in a lot of different ways. So I want to start talking about the implications of divorce. I want to break down just those first few years into two categories. So you have engagement phase, and then marriage, and then the honeymoon phase. And typically the honeymoon phase is where it's such a blissful and joyful time. You're learning all these things about each other. You're learning how to live together. You're just so excited to finally be married. So typically this can be described as some of the happiest years of someone's marriage. But oftentimes we hear that the first year of marriage was the hardest time in a relationship for some people. And that can be such a hard and negative thing, and that can send you on a trajectory to divorce if those first few years can be hard. The study's shown that the habits that you build in the first few years play a big role in the rest of your lives together. And so if you build these habits in that honeymoon phase, supposedly, that first year, 2, 3 of marriage, if you're building these habits, and by building these habits, I mean just the things you do on the day-to-day. If you're talking negatively to your spouse, if you are always annoyed by them or frustrated, or you just have a mindset that they can't do anything right, things like that that are just negative, you are sending yourself on a downward slope instead of upward, and building all these habits to a successful marriage. You're actually going down, and the direction is to divorce, because eventually divorce is when two people can't live together anymore for various reasons, but when they choose to end their marriage. And when you start your marriage off in a negative light and build these negative habits, studies show that your success goes way down to have a successful marriage. And so there are a lot of different implications of divorce. And last week, this is just a touch up, we talked about self-esteem and why that's so important. I just want to touch on low self-esteem. When you have low self-esteem, you have poor self-image. You don't like what you see, and because of that, you find others as a threat. You act irrationally. It causes a lot of anxiety. You're sensitive to criticism, and all these things can be so hard in the first year of marriage. When you have low self-esteem, that person that you're with all the time is your spouse, and so it can put you a negative light in your marriage. If you are struggling, you'll project all that onto your spouse. And so really intertwined with the study I did last week with that. And why is the age gap in marriage, why does that play such a big role in divorce rates? And that was something that I found super interesting as I mixed these articles together and studied the two of them. And so people tend to marry someone like themselves. Veterans tend to marry veterans. In our culture, there's a lot of Latter-day Saints, and Latter-day Saints tend to be attracted and marry another Latter-day Saint. Athletic people like athletic people, and so on and so forth. The quote that the article kept using was, "Birds of a feather must flock together," and that is so true, because you are attracted to what you are. You're attracted to what you are interested in. And so there's a huge trend. There was a study done in 37 different countries, and it was pretty unanimous across all of them that there's a huge trend of men being older than women in marriages. And that was done and proved to be accurate in 37 different countries that this study was done in. And why is that? When you marry someone younger, it can start your relationship off, and I speak from a woman's standpoint, being a girl, it can start your relationship off so rocky. These studies were done typically around between marriages of people around 18 to 30 years old. And if a woman marries someone younger, he's typically not all the way, he's got education still to finish. He's got a lack of motivation and work drive. If a woman marries someone older, they're typically a little bit more stable and secure in their life. They have finished education, or they're farther in education, which means they can provide a better life for their wife. And so you can see how an age gap plays a role in divorce, because of how important those first few years are in a marriage. And if you are already automatically starting off with the stressors of school and work and all these things, it can be really hard in a marriage, those first few years. And those first few years really are crucial in a marriage. These are my references that I use for the two articles this week. If anyone is looking to get married, or even just strengthening their relationship with their husband or wife, I would recommend looking into these articles.